Mr. Biden and the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Central Bank want to take control of the American people, their freedom, their privacy. They want to take your money. They want to take it through taxes. They want to be able to lock you down and enforce new rules and mandates on you by way of a central bank digital currency. Folks, this is important. Check this out. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis proposes banning a digital currency from the Fed, arguing it will stifle innovation and promote surveillance. Now, like if you agree, you guys know my stance on this. We're going to dive into this, see what he's got to say here, or at least what this article has to say from Business Insider, released or published yesterday, March 21, 2023. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is not on board with the potential launch of a central bank digital currency by the Federal Reserve. And on Monday, DeSantis proposed legislation that would make Florida the first state in the country to ban the use of digital currencies issued by the Fed or any foreign central bank for that matter. The Fed has been studying the feasibility of a CBDC at the direction of President Joe Biden. You guys may recall Executive Order 14067. And it says that a CBDC is a digital version of an existing currency that, like its physical fiat counterpart, would be backed by the full faith and credit of the issuing government. Talk of CBDCs heated up during the cryptocurrency boom of 2020 and 2021, which put pressure on governments to explore the potential issuance of their own digital currency. But honestly, in my opinion, it was twofold. One, it was the government understanding and identifying just how strong and how powerful cryptocurrency Bitcoin was becoming and other cryptocurrency tokens and altcoins. And they didn't want to have or at least let that risk potentially take over, again, this fiat currency that is literally in this market, Business Market Insider article states, backed by the full faith and credit of the issuing government. Therefore, it's not backed by anything. I mean, we back it literally as people because we put our trust and faith into it. Although we could do the same literally with any other form of medium of exchange. Additionally, think about it. At the same time, 2020 and 2021, as we can see here, talks of CBDCs heated up during the cryptocurrency boom of 20 and 2021 for the simple fact that 2020 and 2021 was, lockdowns, mandates, rules put in place to restrict and impose the free will of many people, not just here in America, United States, but around the world in other countries. Well, what better way could they do it besides with currency? Think about it. If the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, were to take over and we were only able to utilize this digital currency, as paper or fiat money would be eliminated, potentially facing an expiration date for which you'd have to turn it over to the government in exchange for your CBDC. Well, guess what? They could literally be more effective in mandates, lockdowns, and pushing and directing people the way they want them to go. How? Why? Because they would control their money digitally with the push of a button. Now, it says that the proponents of CBDCs argue that a digital dollar would enable faster transactions with lower fees, improved efficiency with cross-border exchanges, and improved accessibility to the unbanked population. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you guys think that cross-border exchanges are going to be improved with a central bank digital currency, well, then I've got a bridge to sell you in the Black Hills of South Dakota, because just think about it now. There's countries that we can't even communicate with now reasonably without the complication of currency and the valuations and the exchange rates coming into play. Not to mention the amounts of cybersecurity threats and down networks that our government experiences on a regular basis as it is. Like this is a bunch of bull for a proponent for CBDCs. But according to DeSantis, a digital currency issued by the Fed, quote unquote, is about surveillance and control, folks, and it would ultimately hurt innovation. The Biden administration's efforts to inject a centralized bank digital currency is about surveillance and control. Today's announcement will protect Florida consumers and businesses from the reckless adoption of a centralized digital dollar or a Biden coin, which will stifle innovation and promote government sanctioned surveillance, DeSantis said. DeSantis also argued that any digital currency issued by the Fed would diminish the role of community banks. Again, folks, this was what I was telling you about the central banks, the Fed, the Biden administration, all looking to eliminate private banks, which they would, or they could potentially have a much likely ability to do so with the implementation of CBDC. Despite running this through these 12 large Wall Street banks for this pilot program, you have to realize that the writing is on the wall. You would be extremely blind and naive not to realize what is likely to happen moving forward with the issuance of a CBDC through a central bank. There would be no need for the private banks. I mean, it's literally an oxymoron. I don't even know why they're running the pilot program tests. And it says that the Fed would diminish the role of community banks, which have come into focus this month amid the ongoing regional banking crisis. Again, folks, this is manipulation at its best. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to make us ask and beg for CBDC as a result of these bank failures. So all smoke and mirrors. Now, a federally sanctioned CBDC as proposed by the Biden administration would diminish the role of community banks and credit unions in our financial system, as CBDC currency would be a direct liability to the federal government rather than a chartered financial institution, shrinking market lending power, according to what Ron DeSantis said. Questions are being asked. Are the banks safe? Are credit unions any better? What about FDIC? What about NCUA? Folks, this would eliminate all of that. Just putting it out there, just being 100% upfront and honest here. And while there is no official timeline for the launch of a Fed-issued digital dollar or even confirmation that the Fed will move forward with one, it is set to launch its FedNow service in July. FedNow service is a real-time payment system that is meant to eliminate the existing delays for clearing financial transactions between different institutions. Some view the launch of the FedNow service as a potential precursor to the launch of a CBDC. DeSantis called on like-minded states to join Florida in adopting similar prohibitions within their respective commercial codes to fight back against this concept nationwide. I would say that we're very fortunate to have Governor Ron DeSantis not only here in Florida, but also a potential 2024 presidential candidate who's also working for us, the people, to block this gross misuse of power and a potential executive order enforced by Mr. Biden and the Biden administration to control and track, trace, and tax. Folks, we're talking about what has been stated by these central banks, the Fed, the Biden administration, negative interest rates, which basically mean that they're going to be taking money away from you as it sits in your accounts. Negative interest rates, as well as the ability to track, trace, and tax. And also, we must not forget about the expiration dates that could be set on these funds that would provoke and ignite exchange in the economy to stimulate, which would be essentially quantitative easing by the Fed, or to reduce spending, which would be quantitative tightening by the Fed in the markets, despite fluctuations of interest rates, which would be way more effective. Okay, they are trying to control and manipulate and pull the strings with the push of a button with this CBDC, and we cannot let that happen. So, folks, please do all you can. Pay attention. Be prepared. Tom Emmer has got a proposal going through Congress to try to block this. We can see here Ron DeSantis is also an opponent of it as well. And we have to make sure this doesn't happen, because if it does, this could be quite possibly one of the worst things that ever happened to us post C-19 pandemic.